And we're live.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's the 29th day of April 2023. Kind of a rainy, murky day in New Jersey today, but I'm glad you guys could join us. Thanks for listening, and I appreciate everything. And Rob is our producer behind the curtain. And Rob, thanks for all your support. And let's jump right into it. First, let me give an update on Steve. I'm going to see him this afternoon, and he's doing better and better every day. And listen, the show is Sports with Mono and Mono, and I miss him terribly. I love him to death, and I can't thank everybody enough for all the support that they've given and all the well wishes to Steve. And it just he's going to be good, and he's going to get back on this show at some point. Be a little while, but he will be back on the show. So thank you, everybody, for your support, and the Jeremy Bennett's and the Jim Walshes and all those folks, and the Kim Schlenkers. And these are people that admired Steven and thought he was a great guy, like he is, obviously. And I miss him terribly, but he'll be back with us soon. So we'll jump right into the monologue this week, which, of course, is weekly sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. And can't thank them enough for the support of the show. So I'm going to jump in. My monologue is this Aaron Rodgers, and I just want to put this to bed. I mean, we knew the trade was going to happen. We've been saying it all along. He was going to be a Jet, and now he's a Jet. You know what? But, be careful what you wish for, because we've seen this movie before with the Jets, right? We've seen the Neil O'Donnells, the Boomer Esiasons, the Vinny Testaverdes, guys that couldn't get them over the hump. And all Jet fans are all ecstatic that, and listen, he's still a viable quarterback. He's still good, but he also is 39 years old. And this does not, to me, make them an instant Super Bowl contender, and certainly not in the AFC. When you look at the quarterbacks he's going to have to face, it's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Herbert, it's Burrow, it's those guys. And, the Jets had a good year last year. They got some promising players in Garrett Wilson, but this does not make them a Super Bowl contender. And this could just blow up like it has for the past 30 years with the Jets. So I don't know. I mean, they're paying the guy. He's coming here, and he's better than Joe Flacco. And, I don't know what this sends a message to Zach Wilson, like he's going to learn from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and it's all about himself. So he's coming here, and he's thinking, if he pulls this off, listen, that's great. I mean, but he's only got one Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has two Super Bowls. Josh Allen will get one of his Super Bowls. But you know what? For Jet fans, listen, I'm happy for you. And it's a marked improvement over what was going on last year. Wilson wasn't ready. Maybe Wilson wasn't the right pick overall, but I was all in on Zach Wilson. But I'm not so sure that this is going to be they're going to the Super Bowl. I just don't see it. I think the competition is too tough, but he's going to ride this out for the last 2 years. He'd probably play next year as well, but we'll see how it goes. So Jet fans, listen, you got a quarterback, right? And I'm glad that he's not wearing number 12 that Joe Namath wore. So that's a good thing. Anyway, so that's my monologue for this week. And, good luck to Aaron Rodgers. Good luck to the Jets. I just don't see it happening. Anyway, so let's move on. And Rob, I wanted to bring up that we're going to have a guest join us at around 11:15. Dear friend of mine, and kind of got a history with this man, and so does Steven for sure. And I can't wait for Bert to join us in a little bit. So let's jump right into it, right? The NFL draft. A couple of things, right? The whole Will Levis situation. Full disclosure, I went on the record last week saying I thought he might actually be the first quarterback pick. And in fact, he falls to the second round and second pick and goes to the Titans, right? So I think this guy's going to be a player. When you look at the draft and what went on, and you got to give credit to the Texans. I mean, they made some good picks, right? They took Bryce Young, which I'm not so sure is going to translate into the kind of quarterback he was at Alabama, of course. But that was a great pick, and they moved up and they got Will Anderson, which, Giant fans would have loved to have made some deals and gotten that happen. But that was a great point in the draft. I did say that I thought the Cowboys would make some moves to get Bijan Robinson, which didn't happen. He ends up going to the Falcons. So a couple other surprises, Rob, in the NFL draft, right? I thought this Michael Mayer from Notre Dame, this tight end, was going to be, possibly a top 10 pick. I really did. And he fell down, and, he ends up in the second round too. That was a surprise for me. But, that's what the NFL draft is all about, right? I mean, you never know what's going to happen. One move dictates the rest of the moves in the draft. And, but overall, I think the Giants did a great job in the draft. I wasn't so sure that the cornerback was the first, absolute need for the Giants, but they backed that up with him, and Joe Shane said this is the kind of guy we need in a Wink Martindale defense, and so they got him, and then they backed it up with taking a center, the kid from Minnesota, Smith, and they got a wide receiver, the kid from Tennessee, and last year he had an unbelievable season. He's a fast, dynamic type player. And so I think the Giants overall filled the needs. The Jets, they went on the other side. They took the defense, and, I guess that's what Douglas and those guys felt they needed, another pass rusher. So they got them. So the Jets had a pretty good draft too, and they ended up taking a center. And we're still waiting for Luke, one of our favorite people in college football to speak about, and he'll get drafted today, Luke Whippler, and we'll see how it goes. But it was great. I mean, I enjoyed the draft. It was something I recollect when Steven didn't make it with us, but I went with my brother Thomas, and we went to the NFL draft and sat there and talked to Gil Brandt from the Cowboys for 4 hours, shook the hands of every first round player that came off the board. I don't know how we pulled this off, but we did, and it was great. It really was. But that was way before, the situation they have now with the draft. It's like a 3-day event, and it's a moneymaker for the NFL. And obviously that's what Roger Goodell is all about. So, listen, this is day 3 today. They'll wrap up the draft, and good luck to all those kids. There's going to be some guys that were drafted early that won't make it, and there's going to be guys that got drafted later that will make it. So it's absolutely awesome. And the NFL, like I said, they keep printing money like the United States Treasury. One other thing, though, this Lamar Jackson's actually shocking to me that the Ravens kowtowed to him and ended up giving him more than Jalen Hurts got just a week before. And I don't understand it. I don't know if the players have that confidence in him. No question he's a good quarterback and he's athletic, and no question. But not playing in the playoff game when he certainly could have played was was a black mark on my perception of him. And I told you about this. Now this guy's making $50 million a year, and he doesn't have to pay an agent for it, actually, because he was his own agent. But this is going to set the stage, and I don't know when it's going to stop, but Joe Burrow's up for a contract next year, and he's probably going to be the first $60 million a year player. And like I said, the NFL is just printing money, which makes it impossible for the average American family to go to a game. So, a lot going on in the NFL and a lot going on in other sports. And, Bert will join us in a little bit. And let's move on to the NBA.
So, Jim, hold on a second. Jim,
Go ahead.
Let me give my 2 cents on a few topics here. Will Levis, I think it's a 2-pronged approach. He fell out of the first round. They say he has a toe injury that NFL teams learned about late. But what kind of surprised me is that you have 2 teams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams, who are in awful salary cap situations. With the Buccaneers have no quarterback. I mean, all right, you want to consider what's the name of quarterback, okay? But I'm surprised Will Levis was not picked up by the Buccaneers or the Rams because they need that that quarterback with the low contract right now.
Yep.
I'm surprised they didn't go anywhere.
Well, Rob, you hit it right on the head. I mean, is there a problem, from a health perspective, that he has this toe injury that could hamper him? I don't know. I mean, this guy's cut like just like Anthony Richardson and stuff, but I would have thought he was going much higher in the draft unless there was some inside information that prevented that from happening. But listen, he's going to be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, and Ryan Tannehill's days are numbered for sure. But yeah, that was one of the big surprises to me that he fell to the second round.
And plus, some of these contracts, like you were mentioning, like if Joe Burrow is a $60 million man, I'm not sure I mentioned it on this show last week or the other show, but at some point, that $50-60 million contract for a quarterback is going to totally hamstring these teams, and somehow they're going to have to start reverting back to like, all right, you have to start doing more for your teams here. You're a great player. You're worth $60 million, but you want to win, or do you want to have money in your bank account for your next 5 generations?
Yeah, but that's what the NFL is going to have to do. They're going to change the whole salary cap structure because they know that the quarterback is the marquee player on every team, and they'll just raise the salary cap and it'll just go completely out of control, and you'll see Joe Burrow and going to make $60 million a year, and I don't know. I guess that's the market, and people will pay to see it, but I don't know how it's going to pan out. It just seems almost unsustainable that it can continue at this pace. But
that's why Tom Brady is the GOAT, right? Because Tom Brady never took full salary. He wanted to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that's the kind of player I think Joe Burrow could actually be. He wants to win, and he's that confident in his ability, and ultimately Cincinnati will win a Super Bowl. But like I said, the AFC is tough. You got Herbert and you got all these other guys, the up and coming guys. And now you got Aaron Rodgers. So let's see how that pans out, right? We'll see.
Like I said, Jim, that's not panning out. The Jets are not going to win with Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
I agree 1,000%. No question about it.
It was not good last year.
I've seen
Aaron
this
Rodgers
movie
was not good last year with, I think, a little more talent around him.
Well, right, but he's also 39, and we've seen this movie before, just like The Godfather. Every time you see it, Sonny gets shot at the toll booth. That's how it pans out for them, right?
Yep.
So, Rob, let's move on to the NBA, which is Actually, I've been watching a little bit of the playoffs. I told you before, you guys know my view. I can't watch the NBA during the regular season. It doesn't mean anything. But one of the big surprises that Milwaukee Bucks. I thought the road to the championship had to go through Fiserv Arena in Milwaukee, and it didn't happen. They get knocked out. So that opens the door for the Knicks, which you got to give them credit, I guess. I don't know, is it Thibodeau or not? But I thought they could easily beat the Cavaliers, which they did. And the whole backstory with the Donovan Mitchell and all that kind of stuff. But they move on to the second round, and is Jimmy Butler enough? To make the Heat beat these guys? I don't know. I mean, he's a great player. I don't know. The Knicks could actually somehow manage to win this series and actually move on to the conference finals. It's unbelievable because I've watched the Knicks play and the media and the fans just keep ripping these guys. Like they keep ripping RJ Barrett and so forth. But they're moving on. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And you got some good.
And Jim, one thing about the Miami Heat that people seem to overlook: Kevin Love. Kevin Love still has a little bit in the tank there, and he's motivated to get another ring.
Yeah, he's a good player. But listen, you look at Golden State, right? They lost last night. They got to force a game 7 with Sacramento.
That's awesome.
So, but I think they'll take that game. I forgot to mention this last week. The Phoenix Suns, I know they got now Durant, but this kid, Devin Booker, is one of the most underrated players in the league. He really is he could shoot the lights out of the ball. And, it's really amazing. I think they're going to make the NBA finals. I know the NBA and Adam Silver want LeBron James, which, they won last night. So they're moving on. It's kind of crazy. The NBA is actually, the playoffs are very intriguing. And hey, Rob, I think we have our guest on today. Is he just joining?
I don't see him yet.
Oh, all right. So yeah. So what's your thoughts on the Knicks? How far can they go?
I think that, see, I noticed something in the playoffs. My Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers are the same exact team, right? They don't have any nastiness. So, a team like the Knicks, who have some players with a little grit on them, they outpowered Cleveland to winning that series. I think Miami has a little more grit and bravado to them. So we'll see what happens. I think it's gonna be a great series. And you mentioned the NBA wants LeBron. I'm not so sure about that because I think I think Denver. No one is talking about the Denver Nuggets, and they are the best team in the league, #1 seed in the West, and nobody's still talking about them. That center, Jokic, he is the real deal, and he is nasty. So we'll see what happens.
I know, but
I'm absolutely loving though. I'm saying I'm absolutely loving the this Kings series. I'm slowly becoming a Kings fan because a young team who are really growing up in front of our eyes. Winning last night on the road to force a game 7 is a monumental step for a young team to really get some confidence and use that as a springboard to bigger and better things. Maybe not this year, definitely next year.
Yeah, and now you make some good points there. And like I said, I mean, with the Bucks getting knocked out, and the Golden State Warriors are starting to pull it together, and I don't think they want to get knocked out, so they're going to move on. But you're right, the Denver Nuggets. I'm not so sure. What's missing on there. This guy Jokic is awesome, no question. I just don't know how much else they have, and we're going to have to see about that. But the NBA is pretty good. trying to get our guest on here, Rob, and I don't know how I'm.
Yeah, he has to approve the camera and the microphone on his. What's he using for a device? Do you know?
I do not know, but now I can't even see the chat here, so he sent us a message. Why is that not coming up? Anyway, I hope I could pull that off. A little technically inept here.
Yeah, he has to approve the camera and the microphone to be used, and then he should pop into the back room.
Okay. Well, let's try to work that out. I'm trying to get back to a chat because he sent us a message, and I'm kind of stuck on this. Let's see. There we go. What does he got to do, Rob?
He has to approve his device that he's on to have the device approved to use the microphone and the camera.
Okay. All right. Well, he could see us. I know that. Anyway, so let's move on while we work out that and get our guest on. Let's move on to the NHL, Rob. And
He just messaged me, by the way.
huh?
He just messaged me, not him.
Oh. Boy, that's why I need a producer here. All right, let's see. All right. So listen, we got a big game tonight with the Rangers and the Devils. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, we were looking really good at 2 games up in the first two games, and then they lose 3 straight.
I'm a Devils fan, so you're
I know, and
you're asking the wrong
listen.
perspective.
Listen, you guys have won it. You had a goaltender that came out of nowhere to shut down the Rangers. They scored 10 goals in the first 2 games, and they scored like 3 goals in the last 3 games. So I don't know. It's going to be a great series. The Rangers are not dead yet, but
Where's the game tonight? Prudential?
It's at Prudential, yeah. Rangers lost 2 games in a row at Madison Square Garden, which was shocking, of course. But anyway, look, there's a couple other things. The Kraken is taking the defending champion Avalanche to a game 7, which is exciting as hell. Bruins got to go to a game 7 to beat those guys. It's another another shocker. I kind of thought the Bruins would go in and win 4 straight games, and they didn't. But that's what NHL hockey is all about. So it's exciting as hell. I mean, and I'm glad you're watching it. I know you haven't been the biggest hockey fan, Rob, but I can't I can't tell you enough though. It really is exciting, and these guys play every other night, and they beat 2 guys took pucks to the face, and what happened? They went to the locker room, got 40 stitches, and came back and played in the 3rd period. It's amazing. I just think that NHL is so intense. The playoffs, nothing like it. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. Toughest trophy to win in sports. So, hey, we just got a comment from Tony. Welcome back, Tony. Thanks you. And I know she's a California, West Coast, Pacific Northwest sports fan, and I don't know how she thought the 49ers did in the draft, but she's a Seattle Kraken fan. So thanks for jumping in, Tony, and sending us a comment. And Steve sends his best to you as well, and appreciate it. Hey, Rob, can you see me? Because I'm not seeing.
Yeah, you're kind of frozen right now. But then again, we have awful weather here in the Northeast, so I think it's affecting the Wi-Fi.
Oh, all right, because I can't see myself.
You're there. You're just frozen right now.
Okay.
We also
And
have a
listen,
comment from Miriam as well.
yeah, we got a comment from Miriam, who's going to be traveling soon, but the support she's shown my brother Stephen has just been amazing. And thanks for joining us, Miriam. I can't thank you enough. So Rob, let's move on. And I'm not sure why we can't get Bert on the show. I'm disappointed that this isn't working out for our loyal listeners, because he's somebody that's very intriguing and absolutely an awesome guy. He was my old head coach at St. Joe's and had a big influence on Steve. And I hope we can figure this out. Not sure why just having some technical difficulties, which happens at times. So Rob, let's jump into Major League Baseball. Right? Two biggest surprises, obviously, are the Pirates and the Rays. Rays are, seem almost unstoppable right now. Obviously, that can't sustain itself to that level. And the Yankees and the Mets kind of hovering around 500, both lost last night. And Aaron Judge turned 31 this week. And,
Yes,
so what's your thoughts early on in Major League Baseball? Are you a
you,
Mets or a Yankees guy?
I'm a Yankees guy, but you got to be totally ecstatic. And I think it's great for baseball that the Pittsburgh Pirates were able to sign Brian Reynolds to a contract extension.
Yeah.
Instead of trading the guy like it's been rumored for the past year, you know what? They're starting to win now. And as they start winning, they're gonna get people. They're gonna get families in the seats. They're gonna add to their bankroll. And I'm stoked that I always say, I'm a Seton Hall Pirate, so we love all Pirates, right? So it's just fun to have it's always fun to have Pittsburgh back in the thing. Hey, what they sweep the Dodgers this week? That's amazing.
Yeah. No, it's
And
kind of
their stud player, Neil Cruz, is out until the summer.
I know. And they, last year they were almost a minor league team, and somehow they just turned it around, and they reward the manager by giving him a contract by starting the season at 14-7,
Yeah.
which seems a little crazy. But anyway, so yeah, and the Mets, Pete Alonso is having a monster year. I mean, this is going to be amazing if he can keep up this pace. And you got Verlander coming back and the whole Scherzer situation. But, the Mets will be fine, but they're still going to have to go through Philadelphia or Atlanta. And we'll see how that pans out. But you're right. I think the biggest surprise is the Pittsburgh Pirates. It really is good to see. So, of course, Jacob deGrom, who just got his $85 million contract, got hurt last night. So, I mean, that's the price you pay in Major League Baseball when you sign these pitchers, right? The Verlanders and deGroms, that they're getting older, but they get the money, and then it's just father time takes its toll on them. So we'll see how that goes. What else do you see, Rob, in Major League Baseball? I mean, you just see the mediocrity I see, of teams like Cleveland and Minnesota. I mean, that division, they're all hovering around 500 and below. It's just, obviously, it's a 162 game season, but we'll see. Like I said, Major League Baseball is just takes a back seat right now to the NBA and the NHL playoffs for sure.
I think
But
Baltimore also starting off strong is 'cause a lot of preseason predictions had Baltimore maybe falling back to their usual spot, but they're
right.
hanging in too.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's such a long season that you just can't figure out Major League Baseball. It really doesn't. Every game does matter, because if you some guy goes on paternity leave, which they're doing now, that kind of stuff, that one game could make a difference. That's why every 162 of those games means something, and it's been pretty good.
By the way, on CBS Sports, I'm looking right now. I'm sure there's a bet somewhere that will mimic this. They have the Yankees at 4.7% to win the division.
Yeah, well,
It's so early yet. Anything could happen. And if there's odds somewhere that the Yankees, 5% winning the division right now, please tell me
yep,
where. I'll put $100 down.
yep,
It's early
yep.
yet. It's way too early yet.
It is, but it'll start to heat up pretty quickly. As we almost got to call me when we could do a practice run so I could do the show. It's got a message from our guest. Bert Ammerman. Hoping he can join the show because I'm anxious to have him on. And Rob, I'm not sure why I can't see myself on the video here, but I guess it's being recorded. Can you see it? Is my camera a problem? Is that what's going on here? Anyway, so Rob, let's jump into our random points of interest. Couple of things, which is of course sponsored by Lynch
Hold on, folks.
Toyota.
We're just trying to fix something here. We are having little difficulties due to the storm we're having. The internet's kind of in and out today. So I'm trying to get Jim back on. Now we'll continue with our MLB talk and sports with Mono and Mono.
Okay, but we're
Jim, if you
working
can
on it.
hear me on the other side, just go back in and out,
But you just can't see
and
me.
then I will fix it. And then try to come back in again. So again, try to come back in as always as we're starting a show, and I'll hold the fort here. Thanks, listeners. We have a comment here coming up. All right, Mike Harvey says he sees you. So Jim, come back on, and we should be okay. So Major League Baseball, like I said, the Yankees right now and the Mets. It's too early to really panic right now, right? You got the Yankees. Actually, ironically, Yankees and Mets are both 15-12 right now, far below expectations. But hey, it's only April 29th. Okay, this is not going to sustain. Hey, if Aaron Rodgers is hurt, it's going to sting a little bit. But this is why you have a farm system. This is why you have AAA and AA to get kids ready. And again, the way the Major League Baseball playoff situation is set up, all you got to do is make the playoffs, and they can happen. We do have the best pitcher in baseball right now in Jarrett Cole, so we'll see what happens there. Let me try to message Jim to come back in. The Mets are, I think, the Mets. Here we go. All right, we got Jim back now. There he is. We figured it out. I'll just hold the floor here. So, Jim, I think it's kind of ironic how the Yankees and Mets have the same record right now. But I think most of that pressure is on the Mets because the Mets got a $500 million payroll, right? They got these stud pitchers in front of their thing they bragged about all winter. Yep. So I think the Mets have more pressure to be better than 15-12 than the Yankees do, because the Yankees have, from the start, have been battling injuries.
Oh, listen, I mean, we talked about this before. At the end of the last season, they didn't make any wholesale changes. Right? They still kept Donaldson. They still kept Hicks. And listen, Harrison Bader's not playing, that kind of stuff. So we'll see how that pans out. But Yankees didn't make the improvements that the Mets made. But how that's going to work out. This kid McNeil is a player. He's hitting the ball. But listen, can Verlander and Scherzer carry these guys to the World Series? We'll see. I just don't know, right? So, Rob, before we got interrupted here on the show, just a couple of random points of interest. This Deion Sanders in Colorado. It's really amazing. 40 players have entered the transfer portal from Colorado. So this guy came in and said, "You guys are all done, and I'm bringing in my 40 guys." It's just really amazing that, um, yeah, he does bring something to the organization that's been struggling for years. But you know what? This is kind of crazy. I feel bad for some of those kids that were, committed to Colorado, and now they're basically being run out of town, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, but
Um,
like most pro sports, he's being or college sports, he's being paid to coach his team to win. There's no empathy from players that were 1-10 last year. He's being paid to win and build a program.
yeah, but
I
you got
read
to.
somewhere, Jim. Hold on. I read somewhere that all the current players, right, especially ones that he deemed were not going to be part of the program, he pretty much ostracized them. I mean, they were like, the redheaded stepchildren. Like they were yelled at, they were critiqued way harsher than the new players, and that could be part of the reason why they're all leaving.
Yep.
Besides the fact that he wants to win, and that's we'll see what happens. But
Okay, but this isn't a small time school. This is Colorado. This is a once prominent football team, and I would question the decision to bring him in and just turn that program upside down. But let's see, he may make it work. We'll see. Interesting thing, Chase Young, Washington declined his 5th-year option. So that means, this once promising player, and he was a stud his rookie season, this injury that he suffered is probably long term, and that's not good. So, you hate to see when a promising player like that comes in and then just, an injury just derails his entire career. It's kind of sad. And Rob, I wanted to bring this back up to your Pittsburgh Pirates as well. Great feel good story with this kid, Drew Maggi.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
13 years in the minor leagues, played over like 1,100 games in the minor leagues. 13 years, finally gets the call up, and I think that's that's called perseverance, right? I mean, this kid's dream was to play in the major leagues, and listen, if he doesn't get another at bat, it was still a success. It really was. So,
Exactly.
right? Another interesting, as we Rob, you and I also, and Steve also brought up sports memorabilia stuff, right? And the prices they're paying for a Babe Ruth bat, which we saw, and Wayne Gretzky jerseys, um, a Mike Trout baseball that he signed when he was 12 years old, gave to his uncle, sold for $15,000.
What?
So, I mean, you're more the sports memorabilia guy than me. I mean, so that means kids that are 7, 8, like my grandson Logan, future Major League Baseball prospect or NFL player should start signing balls right now because it's amazing. $15,000 for a ball signed by a 12-year-old guy. That's funny.
So what you're telling me is every time I broadcast the game for St. Mary's, I should get about 2 dozen balls, have St. Mary's players sign them, and the road team sign them as well, right?
Right.
Just pass balls around,
Right, because one of them could be a future Major League Baseball player. That's absolutely right. I mean,
That's horrendous.
it's crazy. And one other last random point of interest, Rob. I'm again sorry we can't get our guest on here, but Tyler Buckner, Notre Dame quarterback, transfers to Alabama, and I wanted to bring this up with our guest Bert because I wanted to get his feelings on this whole transfer portal and the nil stuff. I just don't see him as a fit at Alabama, but obviously Nick Saban does. So we'll see how that pans out. Right?
Well, two things about that I love. Well, one thing I love is that here's the guy, because I've been watching this whole, transfer portal thing with college basketball and my Seton Hall Pirates, and it's ridiculous on the basketball side. But at least Tyler Buckner had, and I think it was genuine when he said that. Look, I'm a Notre Dame fan for life. He actually kept the door open in case things didn't pan out, right?
Right.
And at least he acknowledged his coaches, his fans, his teammates. But some of these players just leave and like yesterday's laundry. They just want to get the hell out of there, and they don't care what feelings are left behind or what they left in their wake. But it was
Right.
kind of cool to see Tyler Buckner at least acknowledge the Irish fans, and also it appears that the Alabama quarterback situation is not that great. So he saw the opening there, and plus Tommy, what's his name is there? Tommy Reese.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but listen, I mean, Tyler Buckner, and you're right. Does Alabama have another Bryce Young in the coffers that they could put out there? Apparently not,
It
right?
seemed that way. No.
But make no mistake about it, Nick Saban will figure it all out. There'll still be a prominent guy, prominent team coming up. But this whole transfer portal, I mean, you can go from one place to the next. And Sam Hartman comes in from Wake Forest and goes to Notre Dame, and that causes Buckner to go to Alabama. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And and supposedly the next quarterback after Hartman is C.J. Carr, who's Lloyd Carr's grandson, the legendary Michigan coach.
Oh, okay.
That says a lot that he spurned Michigan and his grandfather's legacy to go play for the enemy, right?
Well, here's some good trivia. You just brought up Lloyd Carr because Lloyd Carr came to St. Joe's to recruit Stephen Monahan.
Oh boy.
And he literally came to St. Joe's and had a conversation with him and Gary Moeller, I think were the two Michigan guys that came and trying to recruit Stephen at the time. And obviously that didn't work out, but that's pretty funny that you brought up Lloyd Carr's name. That's good. So Rob, I just want to, I guess we're not going to get Bird on, but I just wanted to preface it because we're going to fix this so we can have him on next week, I hope.
Yeah, look, during the week, like I said, I got a lot of baseball this week, but we'll figure out a way to. It happened to me before on this program with another guest on the other show. It's just a matter of he has to be on either a computer or like a laptop or an iPad. The iPhones don't work.
Okay, I'll bring that up to him.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was my coach, and he was the guy that picked Steven to start as quarterback for St. Joe's. And we talk about St. Joe's regularly, but he was literally the building block of a franchise now, some odd 40 years later, is one of the top high school football teams in the country. And he was one of the founding fathers there. And I just can't thank him enough. And I got a lot of stuff to talk about with him. So I apologize, folks, and to Bert for having these technical difficulties. I guess it's the weather, but we will have him on the show again.
Did you watch the draft last night, Jim?
I did.
Brian Cushing looks jacked.
Yeah, well, of course.
I mean, we all know why he's jacked, but he looks. How long has he been retired now? And he's still jacked up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to. You know what? I almost said something I shouldn't have said.
Hold on.
But I saw Brian Cushing play against St. Joe's several times, and yeah, he was a stud high school football player. Had a great career in both college and the NFL, and I think injuries kind of derailed that to make it more of a short-term thing. But yeah, he looks pretty good for a guy.
I was like, wow, he's still jacked after all these years. It's been a while since he played. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you get a chance this weekend, if it's going to be a crappy, rainy weekend here in the Northeast, I saw a brief. I'm looking for it myself, but your guy, Esteme from St. Joe's, I guess they're having like these hype reels for the upcoming season at Notre Dame, and he was talking about how last year it was pure instinct, but this year, the game is slowing down for him, and he expects an even bigger year at running back this year.
Oh, good. Listen, that kid, you want to talk about a guy that's pumped up, man. He's got some guns on him, too. And I watched him play, probably 15 times, and he was outstanding high school player. And he's going to have a great career at Notre Dame. No question about it. So, Rob, our book recommendation of the week, and again, this was brought to us by Andrew Carolyn, who gave us a suggestion. The book I'm recommending this week is Number One, and it was written by Peter Golenbach and Billy Martin. And from a Yankee fan perspective, if you can't appreciate Billy Martin, then you should. Maybe people outside of, I think I brought up the Bronx Zoo, was last week, but there's some funny stories about Billy Martin in this book, and that's my recommendation. And Andrew, thank you for that suggestion. Awesome. Also want to mention my granddaughter Hayden. She's now a up and coming softball player at 5 years old. But there's some cute footage. I'll send you a picture next week. But I love to see her getting involved in sports, just like my grandson Logan, who, we posted up that video clip of him sinking 2 clutch free throws in his basketball game, and he's so into football. He's a Patrick Mahomes fan like nobody else, and now it's baseball season, so I wish both of them, my grandkids, and can't forget my little buddy Hudson, who's my second grandson. He's got a long way to go. He's only 9 months old, so but if he's got genes like his brother, he's going to be a good player. So, Rob, we move on to our notable passings. And, of course, thankfully, we've had a kind of a light few segments on the show with notable passings. But I wanted to bring somebody up, regardless of your beliefs or whatever, but he was somebody that was one of my dear friends, Tom Shanley, who's 80 years old, and Charles Stanley passed away. And Charles Stanley was you could see him regularly on Sunday mornings, giving his sermons and so forth. So whether you believe, don't believe or not, very influential man. And, a friend of mine viewed him as just an outstanding person. And I just wanted to bring that up. He was 90 years old. And from the world of entertainment, right? Harry Belafonte, 96 years old. And I grew up watching Harry Belafonte, very handsome man, actor, and became an activist, and really was no downside to somebody like that. He took his fame and he put it to good use, just like Bill Russell and who we talked about a few weeks ago. But Harry Belafonte was 96 years old. And another guy from the world of entertainment, hard for me to believe. I couldn't watch. I viewed the show as unwatchable, but Jerry Springer passed away at 79 years old from pancreatic cancer. But you got to give the guy credit. I mean, he had a show. He exploited the downside of humanity in this country, but he made a fortune doing it. He was certainly an influential guy. You got to give him credit for that. No question about it. 79 years old. And Rob, another guy from the world of sports, Dick Groat. And this goes back, you've been on this Pirates kick all day. So Dick Groat was a great player for the Pittsburgh Pirates, was a standout basketball player at Duke. He was 92 years old, won the World Series in 1960. The Bill Mazeroski team, and he was an MVP. And there was actually a funny thing. There's a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where they were talking about Groat's syndrome, and Larry David actually said, "Was that named after Dick Groat, the baseball player?" But what a career he had! He got a World Series. He was 92 years old and nobody had a bad word to say about Dick Groat, and it was great to see, that he got recognized for the player that he was. Branch Rickey, who was the general manager of the Pirates at that time, said, "You got to make a decision. Is it basketball or baseball?" He took baseball, and he had a great career, 92 years old. So RIP. That's your boy. It was a Pirates theme show today for you,
Yeah.
Rob.
And LD courtside last night at the Lakers game.
Who was?
LD, Larry David.
Oh.
His courtside. I tell you, they showed this was very. I don't want to say, oh man, sad. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but they showed a close up of Jack Nicholson, who hasn't been seen in public in a long time.
He must look terrible, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Well, what's
and no sunglasses.
Oh my God, he's got to be what, 82, 83? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be up there, and hey, he's hanging on, but oh man, that's a guy you want to remember in his prime, because yeah.
Oh, listen, I mean, we worship Jack. I mean, I thought he was great in Batman, the first Batman movie. He was awesome. But Rob, listen, thanks for pulling this together. I'm sorry, folks, for some of the technical difficulties, and I apologize. We couldn't get our guest on today, but I'm going to make sure it happens next week for sure. So, Bert, my apologies to you. And again, thanks to everybody for their support, for Steve, and I'm going to go see him this afternoon. And please send us comments at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. And, again, we're nothing without our loyal listeners, and we appreciate everybody. And I appreciate you, Rob, for pulling the strings on the production side of things. And you have a good day. And it's kind of crappy weather in the Northeast, but there's good sports tonight, and let's go Rangers.
Good sports all day, actually. So
yeah. So we'll see you guys next week on the show.
Yep, next Saturday I'll be live from the Villa Roma as
okay. All right. Thanks, Rob.
Yep.